to show you how to get started on your Op-Amp project. This is in Unit 2 of your 2419 Intermediate CAD class. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is the first part of this project. Move this over here. This is the project. You can pull this up in Blackboard and follow along with me. The Op-Amp, just a general overview of the schematic here, what an Op-Amp is. These are a couple of examples of a real Op-Amp. The first step of what we're going to do is define the attributed block. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So you can just follow along the steps with me. It says to begin the first drawing, open up Op-Amp symbols from the Unit 2 folder in the shared directory. So if you haven't copied what you need out of the shared directory, you can go straight to the shared directory. I have actually copied what I need out of the shared directory into my home directory. So I'll come here to 2419, Unit 2, Op-Amp symbols. And here's the drawing file. It's got all the symbols that we need. Notice that these red little points here are on a locked layer, so they'll tell me I can snap to them for the base point, but they won't accidentally be a part of my selection. You also want to make sure that you're not selecting the blue text. That's just giving you the name of the block when you're ready to make the block. I'm going to come to my OSNAPs and make sure that my node OSNAP is checked, because that's what these little guys are. This will allow me to snap to these little points. Alright, now that I've got this open, if you had to open it from the shared directory, be sure and save as and put it into your user folder. Step 1, it says define the attributes. So for each symbol in the drawing, define the attributes shown in the table. Let me pull this back over for you. So define the attributes shown in table 1. This is the table. It shows the symbol. It gives what the block name is going to be for each of these, and it tells you what attributes you're going to do. So for example, this resistor has 2 different attributes to it. The capacitor has 2. The dot doesn't need anything. It's just going to be a block. The transistor is just going to have 1 attribute for both of those transistors, and the pin is going to have 2 attributes. When you're doing those attributes, it tells you how you need to justify the text, how you need to have the text set up. This is all the default though, so you double check it, make sure the default is going to that, but that's really, you don't really have to do much here when we're getting to it. So it says to insert the ohm symbol, that \u +sign 2126. You have to type in all of that, but what AutoCAD will do is convert \u +sign 2126 into the ohms symbol. And it doesn't matter if that U is uppercase or lowercase. So I'm going to get started just looking over there. The first one I'm going to do is the resistor. So I'll come in here and define attributes. It tells me the tag. It should be ref. Reference designation, and R1 is just going to be an example. So as you're putting this in, R1, R2. All of these have the modes, just about all of them have the modes completely turned off. Be sure if you're doing this from the beginning that your lock position is turned off. Sometimes if you haven't done a block recently, this will be on. It's on by default. So uncheck lock position. And the rest of this we're just going to leave at the default and say OK. I'm just going to set this down right there next to it. Be sure not to snap to the block. We don't want it actually touching. I'm going to press enter to repeat the command. Resistance. And this is where I'm going to put in 1K, make the K capital. And now I'm going to type in \u +sign 2126. It doesn't matter if the U is capital or not. Everything else I'm going to leave at the default. I'll check this box and it allows me to align that new attribute right below the previous one. So what's nice about doing that is they're perfectly in line with each other. Okay, I'm done with that one. I'm going to do the capacitor next. Define attributes. Reference designation C1, for example. So one's a little tricky because it's so tiny, but we have 2 lines of text to put here. So I'll put this line of text right here. And it says to leave the default blank on this part, so we'll just do that, a line below the previous, and I've got it. Repeat that step. Next we'll skip over the dot. The dot doesn't need any attributes, but we're going to do the npn, npn transistor is the name of the block, so ref Ashley. Reference designation, Q1 for example, it'll be Q1, Q2. And this is the NPN right here. The next one is the PNP. We actually could have just done this one and copied it over. They're exactly the same. The last one that we have here is the pin. Pin number. I'm actually going to put the text on this side, so this is going to go on the outside here. Pin name. Now the only thing that's going to be different about this is I'm going to check where this has multiple lines. So instead of me typing one line of text, this will give me the option to do multiple lines like a text box. I'll say OK to that. Put it in right there. I don't know why it came right there, but we'll just move it over. Alright, so I've got all of my attributes done for this. Step 2 is to define the blocks. So I'm just going to come through here and make all of these blocks. I'm going to create a block. First one I'll make is the pin. Select your base point. I'm going to snap to that node. Select the objects. So select the attributes and the geometry. Do not select that blue label. I'm going to say delete. That way it goes away when I'm done. Repeat that. Capacitor. Resistor. Make sure to get all of those lines. Dot. Be sure and select the very center. It's hard to really see where the node is there, but you want your dot to be perfectly centered. NPN transistor. I'm going to do something a little bit different on this one. These need to be dynamic, so I'm going to open in the block editor and I'm going to add the dynamic flip. So you guys have probably already done an exercise called buzzer. This is going to be exactly like the buzzer. I just want to flip along this line right here. So I'm going to make sure that the parameters tab is selected. I'm going to add a flip parameter. Specify the base point. I'll do shift right click, mid between 2 points. And then do you see how it's got kind of a dashed line? This is just defining the mirror line that it's going to flip over. So just make sure it's perfectly vertical. So I'm just going to snap to this point to make sure it's perfectly vertical. And this part doesn't matter. It's just just click wherever to put that label down. So I've got the flip parameter. Now I need to do the flip action. So click on the action tab, flip, select the object, flip, select the parameter, and then select the objects. even if you selected the text right here, that would not flip with the block, so it doesn't matter if you select the text or not. And that's it, it's done. It doesn't have the exclamation mark, so close the block editor, save changes. I'm going to create a new block, and this one is going to be my PNP. Let's make sure that it opens in the block editor, and I'm going to add the same flip action to it. So go to parameters first. We'll do the flip parameter mid between 2 points. Go to actions, flip action, select the parameter, select the objects, close and save. So I've got all of my blocks made. What you might want to do right now is just check yourself by inserting all of the blocks. So capacitor, it wants me to fill it out. C1, that looks good. It's a block, it's got the annotation, the attribute next to it. My dot, it's just a little dot. NPN should have a flip, and the reason that we didn't want it to lock position is because when I do flip it, I want to be able to move that attribute out of the way. Pin 1, and then you can see here I can add multiple lines of text. So you can see that, and I can move this text out of the way if I need to. You might want to even put a flip onto this block because he's actually going to be used on both sides of the drawing. PNP. Test out your flip. Looks good. And last but not least, little resistor. And OK. And you can see how that \U +2126 changed into the ohm symbol here. So now that you've checked yourself, that's it. Go ahead and save this drawing, and you're done with step 1. Now we're going to actually go draw the op amp itself.